many of you recognize how you think and how you feel impacts the decisions and choices we make, which ultimately result in a change in how our life is balanced? As a pharmacist and an entrepreneur, this is something that I've dealt with throughout my life. When I've qualified and we set up our first business, a lot of the conversations I would have with my patients, with other business colleagues, were always, how balanced are we? People would come in with colds and flus, or even more serious conditions. And in all the conversations that I can recall, I can tell you multiple times throughout the day, we would discuss how balanced our life was. And most of the people we had these conversations, we would talk about how stressed they were, how much anxiety they had, how difficult it was on a day-to-day basis to get through the challenges they were experiencing, not so much even physically, but here, and how they were feeling. Now, as a pharmacist, we're one of those professions that doesn't talk much about what we're thinking. We just do the job. You guys come in with a prescription, we get it ready, we hand it out to you, and if you need any advice, we're there. You see, it's the one profession that doesn't require an appointment. You can walk in any time. We're always available. And we do that job well. But what we don't realize in that process is we don't really think about what we're going through when all these emotions are being thrown at us, all these situations are coming at us. You see, all these situations and all these conversations are being imprinted into our memories. Our brain holds them as a record, but because we're not too bothered, because we're getting the job done, we just let them slide. And it's fine, especially when it's going right. As I said, these conversations of balance made me think about my life. How balanced was I? Was I living a very balanced life? Because that's what I'm telling my patients. I'm having these conversations with my business partners. I'm having them with other CEOs and friends in the business community. And with all the self-help books out there, there were so many definitions of what balance was. The one that stuck with me was inner peace. To be in peace and harmony emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And in that comes all of this: family, work, journey, life, money, health. And I'd also decided that for me to be in balance was to have a state in which I had financial security and also being successful at what I did. So what do? We opened our first pharmacy 8 years ago, and we do well. Everybody thought we were crazy because we decided to open 100 hours a week. So we were going to open from 8 in the morning till 11 at night, Monday to Saturday, and to top it up, 11 to 9 on a Sunday. And we did well. And as we were doing well, we thought, you know what? Forget what everybody says that we're crazy. We've just gone and done this. Within 6 months, we decided to open another one. And I had this great idea. I thought, you know what? 100 hours is not enough for us. This is just not going to be enough. We're going to open 105 hours now. So what we decided to do was open from 8 in the morning till midnight, Monday to Saturday, and increase the hours to 9 to 7 on a Sunday. And again, it started working. Success. That was my premise of what for me was balance. And it made me feel great. And at that time, everything for me was working fine. I'm going to, in fact, show you a video from the past to really show you how I felt, not just emotionally, but physically, and I guess to a certain extent spiritually, if you want to look at it like that. So this was in one of our pharmacies, and this was my way of accepting I'm balanced. I think you get the point. Big change occurred from that point, which was probably about 5 years ago. You see, my premise of what balance for me in my life was financial success and being successful in our businesses. And that was all great whilst it was going right. Now, as you know, businesses have their ups and downs. And, we started getting affected. And slowly things started to change. From that person, changed to this person where things weren't coming out the way they were. The choices I was making weren't the same. The decision-making processes was different. And I was getting stressed. And we know stress is a natural response of the body, which is there to protect us. Cortisol levels come up, your heart rate levels go up, and you become more alert. You're prepared for that instant danger. However, if it continues long-term, which I call chronic stress, what ends up happening is our judgment starts to be clouded because the rest of your body systems turn off in that moment. And this is what was happening with me. I was consistently stressed. I was worried. I was having anxiety. I would get up in the morning. I'd feel sick for no reason. I'm sure lots of us have been in these positions where we've got up and for no apparent reason, we're just unhappy. We don't understand what's happened. And every new decision I had to make now was being affected by all those memories that I ignored in the start. Because you see, they had strong emotional responses that were attached to those memories. So each patient that I spoke to, or each difficult decision we made in the business that emotionally I had ignored and thought, it's okay, it's what I'm supposed to be doing, now that would keep coming back, and every new decision I had to make would be based on my past and the emotion that I experienced in that moment. So what could have been done right ended up mostly going wrong because I was not in that state of being that would allow me to think clearly. So as this happened, this started to affect my relationships. My partners happened to be my siblings, and they tried speaking to me, something's not right. My wife, who's here today, she said to me, something's not right. And I couldn't figure out what's wrong. And then I thought, you know what? It's because the business. It's all to do with the business. I know when it was going fine. I was working great. So that's what I need to fix. But what's gone wrong? So I had my first aha moment. Adaptability. I had not changed to my environment. I had not changed to what was happening around me. And what I needed to do is go back in and fix the business. And that's what I did. Went back with a plan, looked at the operations, looked at the HR, looked at the finance. Things started improving again. But I started stress eating even more. My weight started to get crazy. It was like I just couldn't control it. And in fact, my body was no longer listening to me. Literally, I would go into situations and I would feel anxiety and panic attacks without even knowing the outcome of what I was trying to get into. And at that point, I had surrendered my mind to my body. Joe Dispenza said, our bodies are like unconscious mind, and I agree, because at this point, I was just on automatic. What was happening is every situation that I encountered, I was dealing with from my experiences from the past. Einstein said, we can't deal with the problems of today by the thinking that was used previously to create them in the first place. So I come back and I realize that, okay, adaptability is fine, business is doing fine, but I'm not doing fine. Something clearly is wrong, because my business partners, who were my siblings, even though I was the eldest, said, big brother, it's time now to stop. And that's when it hit me again, okay, something else needs to be seen to. And that's when it hit me that it's not just adaptability of our external environment, it's our adaptability of how we think and how we feel. And that was my second aha moment. And that's when I realized that in order for me to get out of the position I'm in, that's the first thing I need to do. And actually, that's the most important part of this whole journey, is the recognition. Recognizing that emotionally, I was not at the state that I needed to be in. And then I started looking into, how do I get out of this? Now, a lot of us, when we encounter these tough situations, we'll speak to family, friends, it might go get professional advice. But I can tell you the first and most important part is that recognition. Once you have that recognition, I've developed a process which I've learned from different mentors and books and just experience. These are the 4 steps to that. The first point is recognition. Recognizing that something is internally wrong. Yes, there's external pressure. Yes, my weight was ballooning. Yes, I was stress eating. And obviously, with eating as much as I was and thinking back how I used to be, I was constantly feeding back the same emotions, the same feedback. So every decision and choice was now based on what I was feeling more than what I thought logically or what I had to do in that point. The second thing I realized after that is, okay, now I'm aware of what's happening to me, but what about when that happens? So you go for your first job interview and it doesn't go right, and now you're going on your second one, completely different person, completely different city, completely different job. You're a different person, you've been speaking all around the world, but you go into this job interview, flashback. Oh, I remember how last time happened. That didn't go so well. The emotion comes out, straight away, feedback loop, and now you're going into this event thinking about why it's not going to go right because of a past experience. And the issue with that is, again, with every decision now, you're again going to be making the same choices. So once you've recognized this is happening to you, the next thing is to be aware. Be aware that right now, thought that's coming into my mind is not based on my current reality, but it's on what's happened before. So that's the second step. And I'll tell you something else that's going to be difficult here, is once you're aware, because the third step, change the way you feel, you're going to encounter one of your biggest challenges, and that's going to be your body itself. Because your body's going to tell you, actually, I don't really want to do this. I don't want to get up 5 o'clock in the morning and go for a run. We'll do that tomorrow. Or you'll do that next day because you've got a big meeting today. So your body starts to become, because you've conditioned it. Your body is now more powerful than what your mind is. It's your unconscious mind. So the next thing is controlling your body. Because I would like to tell you that you can sit there and think about your negative emotions and you can reframe them. But the first thing you're going to have to get control of your body. So this is something I do now, is just sit there for 10 minutes without moving. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, especially for someone who's very passionate about dancing. It's the hardest thing to do, because all my body tells me is, no, we need to move, we need to be in motion. Otherwise, you're not going to get to where you want to be. So if you can do that for 10 minutes, start with 2, 4, 6, and get there, I can tell you you'll notice a profound change, because then you've taken back control of your body. And when you say sit, it sits. And the final thing is repeat. Because once you've understood that you need to be aware of that emotion coming, and you need to reframe that pattern, you need to recall memories. See, the memories themselves aren't the problem, but you need to recall the memories that show where you've been successful. And even the ones that weren't successful, you need to take the negative emotions and dissociate from there and focus on what went wrong and how you can change. And that's it, folks. Repeat. That process, top to bottom, is something you're going to have to do for the rest of your lives, because it's not going to change. And this is where I am today. It's a process I've been following now for a year, and it's getting me there, but it's a battle. And that's okay, because the rest of what you're doing is still going to be fine. You'll still probably make great change in the world. You'll still probably do something for the climate, and you'll still do something in terms of your financial model, whatever it is, but ultimately you're also making sure that you have a system in place where you're ready for all the challenges to come. So when you leave here today, you're going to be having all these inspired thoughts in your head. Nothing cannot be achieved, but there is a process and a system. And to restore balance in your life, you've got to practice. Practice at getting back at where you need to be. Thank you.